got you in gloves off, and today we have candidate for Webb County Judge Patricia Barrera. Well, good morning, Patricia.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
No, we were here about 90 days ago, back in September.
Okay.
What happened? What's going on? Why is this change, and now I'm going to run, and what happened?
Well, when I was here last time, under the elections code, I could not announce that I was running for county judge until I resigned tax assessor collector. So that's why I could not say what I was going to do, and that's why I never did announce it at that time. I did. We took care of that on November, the last week Commissioners Court meeting. I sent them my letter of resignation, and it was effective that day for that Monday, and the court accepted it, and they appointed an interim tax assessor collector, who, by the way, will be on the ballot because I resigned before the deadline of December the 11th, so therefore the tax assessor collector's position will be on the ballot in March. And there's already 2 candidates that I know of, and they would be Rosie Cuellar, the municipal judge, who that same Monday announced that she was a candidate, and the new tax assessor collector, Norma Farbro, who used to be the tax collector for United Independent School District.
So she's the one that's appointed now?
She's the one that's there at the office, yes.
Okay. You know, we've had several appointed positions with this court the last year.
We've had several positions to one person or 2 persons. In other words, a person may hold 3 positions.
Really?
Yeah.
Explain that. How's that?
I don't know, but obviously they can be at 3 places at the same time. They can run the risk management department. They can do the new legal counsel department, and I don't know what else they're also.
And are they getting paid for each department separately?
Well, not the full amount, but they are getting paid for each position. You know, that I know that's happening, and Mr. Nada, who's the road and bridge guy, they were going to appoint him, then they didn't because people complained. I know that attorney Sergio Martinez, went and said, when did you all publish this? You know, so they stopped. But I believe he's there now. So they never did have they never asked for applicants or anything. So they're famous for that.
Yeah, the appointing people.
Yeah.
They did that to a judge recently. That when Chuy Garza left, they appointed a person there that was very low and.
Well, but they did go for.
I mean, they have several. They went for applicants.
Yes, they have.
But there were no applicants for the road and bridge, right?
None. No, because people wanted to know. I know of an individual that told me, because it was on the agenda that they were going to appoint him. He said, you know, I've been looking on the internet. It never posted. Now, nobody else can hire and fill a vacancy without posting. So this is a court that does what it wants when it wants.
Did they do the same thing?
They do not follow what department heads or elected officials must follow under the Condrey Plan and civil service.
Really?
Yeah. Well, you know, one of the issues that I've had with this administration is that, take the case of Chilo Alanis, the DA.
Okay, the DA.
The DA.
For those out there that do not know who Chilo Alanis is, he's the district attorney for Webb County.
Correct. He had 2 vacancies for investigators. He, former police chief to one of the school districts, resigned, and he was available. He reaches out and sees if he would be interested in coming to work with the DA.
Right.
The individual says yes. So it's during the middle of the budget. So DA has his budget. He has 2 slots, and each of them pay the same, more or less. Okay. So he wants to take money out of one of the slots and enhance the other slot to be able to pay for the qualification and the experience of this former police chief. Okay.
Okay.
So he goes before the court, not once, not twice. I think he went 3 times, asking permission, and every time they said no, he couldn't do it. That he had to follow the Condrey plan. Okay. And under the Condrey plan, when somebody moves in who's from the outside coming in to fill a slot, you start at letter A and you can go up after 6 months to letter E.
Okay.
Okay? It's a grade and steps. And
Correct.
the steps are up to AH. So he said, well, I've got this budget and I want to remove monies. I'm not asking for more money. I have enough money in my budget. I have these 2 slots. I want to take X number of dollars out of the second investigator slot and put it to the first one to increase the salary.
Could that be done, or?
Oh yeah,
Good.
you can do that. It's the middle of the year, you're an elected official, yes you could, with the court's blessing. Of course the court said no. And that's why the DA went to court and sued the county. He ended up being able to do it, okay? And eventually he withdrew from the Condrey plan. But he had to go to court, because otherwise they weren't going to give it to him. Yet, and this is one of the things that I think has demoralized the employees.
Okay.
You have the first commissioner's court meeting under the new judge. He comes in and he says, and he has a budget, okay? And he says, you know, my staff, they have all this experience. He starts numbering them, okay? Now, the ones that had been with Judge Valdez, well, they had to resign because they were at-will employees. So they left. So he had so many slots he could fill. And they had the salary of the prior employee. Well, under the Condrey plan, you're supposed to go from, if they were at letter H, you go back to letter A.
And they didn't.
Well, yeah, but worse than that. Worse than that. He says they're so well experienced that they need to be paid more. So he got the court to agree, and they raised the salaries. Here they didn't go back to A. No, they stayed at that letter and then went up. One of them got $20,000 more. Another one got, I think it was like $4,000 or $6,000. There was like 3 or 4 employees that they all got raises, and they had just started. They didn't even have a year or a week or a month working. They had just gotten started. Yet here, now, in that budget, to the county judge's budget, they had to go into the fund balance and apply more money into the judge's budget because he didn't have the money. He couldn't do like what Sheila wanted to do, was, I'm going to take money from this empty slot and enhance this other slot. He didn't. So the DA was not going to ask for more monies. He had the monies. I just want to shift them around.
Right.
And they said no. And yet here for the county judge, they said, yeah, go ahead. How much do you want? And they just put their hand into the fund balance. And under the law, unless there's an emergency, you can't change the budget. That was not an emergency, but the county attorney, nobody filed anything against them, so they were able to do it, unfortunately. So this is some of the things that people see, that no todos somos hijos de Dios.
No, absolutely.
You know? So
absolutely. And you know something that I do not like about when a public official goes into office? You have employees in that office, and some of those employees have been there 5-10 years. They have experience. They go in there, and all of a sudden you have this mass exodus of all these employees.
Yeah.
It happens when public officials get elected, and now we're seeing it with public officials being appointed.
That they fire.
That they fire.
That's true.
I thought that since we had civil service, you couldn't do that, but apparently you can for some and not for others.
If you're an at-will, yes, they can.
Okay.
Yes, they can.
And we have to protect our employees. Either we have civil service for everybody, or we don't have civil service for nobody. Okay, and you understand my my rationale, and maybe you
Yes.
can, maybe you cannot legally, but it hopefully this appointed that's replacing you. Her name's
Norma Faribault.
Faribault. Ms. Faribault is not going to do that.
She already did.
She already did.
Yeah, she already fired. But the courts are all at will. The district courts, the county court at laws, because you need people of confidence that you can trust they're working for you. And that's why those are at will.
I think any governmental position of employment, we should have people of confidence.
Yeah. Well,
I think we should,
obviously. Yeah.
and
yes,
and you
yes.
know, and deputies. We had that one time when every sheriff switched, everybody got fired.
Yeah, but the worst
then-
one was Rick Flores,
Yeah.
the uncle to Tano Tejerina. He fired them before he took office. He sent them a pink slip, like 2 weeks before Christmas or something. Effective January 1st, you don't have a job. Most everybody waits till they're in office to do
To
the
start doing it,
firing.
right, to
He
start
did
looking.
not. Now, like when I won back in 1992 and took office in January 1st, the reporters saw them and were asking me, "Are you going to fire this? Are you going to fire that? Are you going to fire them all?" I said, "Well, how can I fire them? I don't even know, how they work. I need to see them working. Now, I'm not going to fire anybody. I don't even know the full job. I know a little bit. I know some of the things, but I'm going to need people who know their job,
Of course.
so that the office can continue working." I came in, I didn't fire. Now people quit because we put them to work, and
That's a different story.
yeah, but it was, for me it was a day's work for a day's pay. You have a job as long as you're doing the job. But if you're not, then yes, I'll fire you. But I didn't have to fire anybody. They left. It was too much work, and it is a lot of work at the tax office.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
And you've done an excellent job.
Thank you.
And hopefully, for the people that come after, that they can continue with that type of level.
Well, I think taxpayers are going to demand it. They're going to
Okay.
expect it.
And
They
you
got a
said-
taste of government being run like a business.
Well,
I
it is
want
a
you to come
business.
back. I want you to be a repeat customer and not go to my competitor. Unfortunately, government,
There's no competitor.
there is no competitor. You can't go pay the property taxes for Webb County somewhere else unless they have an interlocal agreement. But there's none of that here other than LCC with the county. But you can't go get your license plates anywhere else, or the beer license, all these things that the tax office does. So you have to come to our office. The only difference was that we ran it like a business. We wanted people to go back to work and earn some more money and not waste their time in our office, waiting in line, waiting to be taken care of. So
Did you see I guess you lost confidence in this court. That's the reason why you're running.
very much so.
Okay.
I mean, you have the aunt and the fellow millionaire voting with him, so whatever they want, they're going to get it. They've got the 3 votes, and it pretty much got stuck like that. Yeah.
And I see a lot of people say, though, there's too much nepotism.
There is.
And I usually try to
Remember when the raid occurred?
go ahead. The what? Which rate?
The raid in the city and the
Yeah,
county?
sure.
Okay. It's almost a year ago.
Yeah. Well, it's going to
When-
be in February, right?
Okay. So when that raid happened, one of the department heads tendered his letter of resignation for the following month. He was freaking out. That I don't know if I should have used that word, but he was very concerned because he hired a sibling to one of the commissioners. And he was afraid that the feds were going to go in because that department gets federal money. So he quit. He's no longer with the county. And that's one of the departments, I believe, that one individual is the interim to.
And I see, because here being Laredo, we have family that extends. Some of us have cousins and aunts and so on and so forth. And being from a small community that has just grown, of course, we're going to get more cousins, right?
Sure.
Many of them are going to work in the county. Sometimes nepotism cannot we cannot go away from it.
Right.
But sometimes they'd hire my aunt or hire my.
But a
That's
lot
a
of
different
those her
story.
grandfather did.
Right.
Okay, they already had the job.
So I look at that kind of.
That does not count. And then it has to do with the level of consanguinity and the
Yeah.
other,
Sure.
the two different levels.
So, when you see that, well, being from Laredo, you have big names, Lopez, Flores, Garcia. I mean,
Carmen, yeah.
everybody's going to be in there.
Sure.
So, Tijerinos are large families también.
Yeah.
Pero, and if and we're not going picking on anybody in
No.
particular, but there is that, and sometimes you go into some of these departments and you have that type of, how can I say, family control into departments. Okay? Which all of a sudden you see a department go down instead of going up anymore.
Yeah, because the morale goes down.
Right.
And usually they end up getting a better salary than whoever came in like they did, It happens.
What would you do different for that? You can't
Well,
fire anybody.
Well, in the past, before we had the HR the way they're operating through the internet for the applications, in the past, the application, the manual application that was filled out, it had a section where you said, are there any relatives working in the county? And if you said yes, well, then you would have to say who was there, right? And then it also had a little clause at the end when you signed that you were saying the whole truth. That you were signing your name saying that you had filled the application and you had answered it truthfully. And if not, if it was found out that you did not answer it truthfully, you would be automatically fired. That is not in the new application in the internet. And that's one of the things that I would ask for. We need to go back to that. And I had an employee who applied with me, and she said she had worked at a bank, and she had left because of a conflict with the time, and she was going back to college, and that's why she had quit. I had people who worked with her. One of them is my banker, who would come and visit with me, and she would be like maybe 5 feet away from them. And they never told me what. But somebody later told me something. Do you know that she was fired from the bank? I said, what? I said, yeah, go look at your application. And sure enough, she didn't quit because of a conflict of interest. She quit because she was fired and arrested. Okay? So I think, and I was able to fire her because I went back and got the application, and sure enough, I had remembered it correctly that she had left to go to college, and she had quit for that, So I called her in and I told her, you're out. You lied on this application. So,
we belong to. I'm a member of a nonprofit organization, and the county has helped us out with several of the events in the past. And now we're underneath third-party funding.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that we all get together and we fill out all the paperwork because it's about this much. And when we fill it out, it tells you right there. Do you have any members that are in commissioner's court? No. Do you have any members that work for the county? Do you have any members? Are you stating the truth? Yes. We are, and all the directors must not have somebody that is in there. Understand?
okay.
And all of us don't, that are all in there, right? And so maybe that part has to come back to the application.
Yeah, probably so. Once we're in there, we'll review that, definitely.
It's interesting that you say, because that just came into mind. What else would you change that's there now?
Well, I've always been against the community centers. I realize that in some areas they may be necessary, but we spend over $2 million of taxpayers' money in financing the community centers. That's one area that I would look to begin to wind that down. And I don't mean you do it overnight. It's impossible.
It's going to be kind of hard. I don't know what they're there for. If they were there to educate the public as they say they do, then yes. Do we have programs for the kids? Maybe. We used to teach Savat there.
Okay.
In fact, Attorney Jimmy Sandoval used to teach Savat there, and we used to go out there every Saturday for about 2 years to teach kids there. All of a sudden, they stopped the program and they put Zumba.
Okay.
You want to outreach kids, try to get them off drugs? Let's open up programs for that. And if it's not, doesn't have to be Savat. It can be baseball. It can be basketball.
Anything
whatever
to keep them busy.
that we can get them out. Okay, I'm not just directing it. Just my experience over there, and we were helped out by then Commissioner Queco Martinez, the attorney, Sergio Queco Martinez, and Constable Rudy Rodriguez were the ones that said, no, this is the one we have over in Peñitas. Can you guys do this? We were not getting paid. We were paying for our own way to get there. We're doing it. We used to say, you buy the equipment, you buy their uniforms, you buy their boxing gloves and their shoes, and we will teach them for free. Okay?
Yeah.
And we did that for 2 years.
Wow.
And I wouldn't mind doing that, because if it's going to be taken in it,
Yeah.
But I don't see that these community centers are actually meeting their purpose.
Well, there's not. I went to community centers when there was that big push for the passports.
Right.
So instead of waiting for them to come to our office, we went to the community centers. And we helped register a lot of people get their passport applications. It was mainly for the kids.
Correct.
They were born here. And we did that. And I observed a lot of what the activities what was going on at the community centers. And most of the employees were either outside smoking, or they were outside leaning over a car and talking to a friend, or they were on the computer doing who knows what. Okay. The elderly would come, and they would have a merienda, and they would play bingo.
Yeah.
But it was the elderly who went and got the supplies, set out the table, and they called the numbers, they did everything, and then they put everything away, and they went home. And not one, I think we visited 4 community centers, not one employee ever went, can I help you? Let me do this.
No,
They did it all themselves.
We had several, in all of them actually. We taught a lot of women's before the rape crisis that we had, defense and all that stuff, and we had it over there, and it was great. It was great fun. It was great for people to come out. This is what you all need to do, so on and so forth. But there was not that much movement. I'm kind of for and against the after-school programs. Okay, I'm going to tell you why I'm for it and then why I'm against it.
Okay.
One, I'm for it because we need to get our kids off the street, protect them.
Correct.
I'm against it because in some of these rec centers, they're not being taught anything. It's a babysitting service, and they're running around causing havoc.
Right.
Okay? If you want to teach them something, do so. But just to babysit for them to run around the gym, it's kind of redundant. Okay? Now, either we're mismanaging that here in the city and in the county, because I've seen after-school programs in Chicago, and I've seen after-school programs in Colorado Springs and in Dallas, and they're done a little bit different. In Dallas, the school at that one particular time would actually have classes of ballet, of tap, of whatever, drumming. I remember one time they had those classes where they had those Jamaican drums and that's the way it should be done. Teach them something. Chicago does the same way, but here, yeah.
I agree that there's some missed opportunity. I know that all of the centers have computers and they have a library or some sort of a library, and where they can go and do their homework or do research. But I don't know if there's really anybody there telling them if they don't know how to use the computer. Yeah. I agree. And this is why I think we're spending a lot of money, $2 million, and the taxpayers that are really subsidizing all those centers are the taxpayers that live in the city of Laredo. Okay, so we're paying those tax dollars, I think, are being misused. What I would like to do is maybe, like the city of Rio Bravo, city of El Cenizo, give them a turnkey. Here.
This is yours. And
This
you
is
deal
your
with it.
building. You man it how you can. You know, we're giving you the facility. There's already computers. There's everything that you need. It's here. Either you get volunteers, you know, but you man it. It's yours.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And those employees would either fill slots that were vacant,
Mm-hmm.
or they would be the first in line to be hired for any position within the department. It's obviously, we could not tell an elected official to hire, okay? But within the department heads. That would be one. The other one, I know that the ones that are within the city limits, that are inside the city limits, I think we shouldn't even have them at all. We should just shut them down.
How many do we have inside the city limits?
Quite a few. There's one, Lily Perez, and then there's another one, the Fernando Sanchez, Fernando Salinas. There's at least 2 or 3 of them that are within the city limits. And the city does that also. They have their own community centers. So we should not be duplicating that service. Plus, the other thing, under the Constitution and the statutes of Texas, we're not mandated to do that. That was something that came up, and in essence, really, it's a way to garner votes.
Of course, just
You
like
know?
the turkeys for votes, that every Thanksgiving, everybody goes out there, and you know, when I look at that, and here, vote for me, here's a turkey, you know, and that,
And you
to
know,
me,
they
is a
didn't buy
big-
it. They went to somebody who has money. Can you give me some money so I can buy some turkeys for the poor people? But they don't mention that person's name. That's why I never did it, because I thought it was so fake.
We were doing a project one time, and I asked a councilman, "Would you help us out?" "Oh yeah, I'll give you $1,000, Bo. But those $1,000 you give me $800 for me to go buy the turkeys." And they said, "You know what? I don't need your help, man."
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that type of stuff exists.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
I didn't know about that one, but yeah.
You know what I mean. So it's fun. It's funny, but it does. You know,
Yeah.
and good for them. They're giving out turkeys, and they're giving out to the people that
Yeah. They
that
need
need
them,
them.
and
encourage
That's
them to
fine.
vote.
but I think it's wrong to claim I'm giving it to you when you know
Saludando con
it's,
sombrero ajeno.
yeah, exactly.
You know, and yeah, well, it's
So
been around for a
I
while.
think we could save easily $1 million, if not more, and then that can be used for other areas that we're short in finances. You know.
I'm going to look at here, see if we have some questions. So I got a couple of people here. We got an Angel Esparza, and it says, talk about the part you were under investigation.
Sure.
Okay.
I-
Angel
I was-
Esparza, here's your answer.
Sure. I'm not ashamed of one bit, because I was indicted, but I was not convicted.
It's a big
There's
difference.
a big difference. A
It's
lot of
huge.
people, and you all have to remember, this was all politics.
Yeah.
It was right before the election of 2008. It happened on October the 11th, 2007. They came in, they raided, they left, and we wouldn't go to court. We wouldn't go to court. We wouldn't go to court until we got a civil lawsuit, and well, it was very obvious.
Uh-huh.
Because under criminal, whatever they were able to get out during the raid, that's all they had access to.
Right.
You know, but under a civil lawsuit,
You can get a little bit more.
you get those people to, and that's what they did. They filed lawsuits against me and the other 3 people, and so they asked for all kinds. We had depositions, we had all this stuff, and I knew they were giving all that information to the Attorney General's office, and nothing happened. And finally, one of the defendant's attorneys said, "Look, if you all settle this lawsuit, it'll go away. The criminal will go away." And sure enough, 1 month after the Commissioner's Court by this time, Ana Laura Cavazos had become the county attorney, and Danny Valdez was still the
judge?
county judge. A month later, the insurance came out and said they want to settle the civil lawsuit. And once they settled that, the next month they called my attorney. My attorney was trying to get a deferred adjudication. and we got pre-trial. What does that mean? That's the lesser of anything, okay? Which means we agreed to agree not to go to court. So I was never convicted of anything. And that's the God honest truth. And I know Tano's going to use this, okay? Obviously, Mr. Esparza, you know, I did not steal a penny. I've never stolen a penny from anybody. I was not convicted of anything. And there's a gentleman who does a lot of Facebook, and maybe you've run into him, Mr. Esparza, a guy named Victor Rendon, who is also known as Rick something, Rick Edward something at the end. And he puts a lot of stuff out there. Now, he got convicted. He's a convicted felon who used to be a deputy in Nueces County. And he was accused by 3 young girls of rape, sexual molestation, rape. And he was convicted. And if, don't take my word, go into the Department of Public Safety site. And there's a site there. And I found this out later.
For public sexual...
For sexual offenders, so you know where they live, or they live in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
At one time, he lived close to, what is it, the school? The one on Springfield, enfrente de la Colonia Richter. I forget the name of it. There were 2 schools. There used to be 2 elementary schools. He had to have a sign in his house.
But you know, talk about that with the signs. You're supposed to have a sign outside your house stating that you're supposed to.
Yeah.
That
To warn parents.
Parents that here lives a sexual offender.
Yes.
I have yet to see one here in Laredo.
But going to the site.
Oh, and the site is filled.
You'll see the spots where every sexual offender lives.
And they're all over the place.
And you'll see Mr. Victor Rendon's house.
And you see, and they're not being either, I don't know who follows that. I don't know who looks for that. I don't know who's supposed to look into that. But that's something that is my pet peeve, because when you go into those sites, every single school here in Laredo, majority, have sexual offenders living around that.
Well, if they live close to a school,
they're not supposed to have. Yeah, they're supposed to.
No, but if they do, they have to have that sign.
And so here's another one. I'm going to read them. Here's Gerardo Carmona. This is where politics gets dirty. When innocent, good, experienced employees get fired, the least you could do is give them the benefit of the doubt, just like staying with the sheriff's sister. Judge is a coward. Nothing has owed Iquea. I guess they're talking to one judge. I would have kept her, but getting rid of the rest of the staff was completely evil. Oh,
you talking about Rick Flores?
I don't know.
The sheriff?
I don't know who he's talking about.
Oh,
a judge. He's sheriff's sister, Odi Cuella. I guess Martin Cuella.
Oh, okay.
Okay, whatever. And so, in other words, if they're picking and choosing people, if they fire everybody and they keep somebody, well, that's just politics. And that's nothing we can do about it.
That was an appointed
position. Yeah. When I see stuff like that, vengeance, they come after you because of politics.
Mm-hmm. Well, they come after me, and
they've come after a lot of people.
No, but with me, they came after me because people like the service.
Of course, yeah.
It was the service. It wasn't anything personal that that they liked me or they loved me or whatever. But people were happy with the service, and unfortunately, they would also go and tell other elected officials, "Why don't you run your office the way Patricia Barrera runs her office?"
No, I've heard that. I've heard
and
that.
when people are telling me they're telling this to an elected official, I'm going like, "Oh, please don't do that,"
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Now, there were instances with other public officials. Their kids are in school, and one of them, they found a piece of marijuana inside there, and nothing was there, and all of a sudden this police officer comes with a little baggie. That exists. That type of vengeance should stop, and that has been here in Webb County, and it's stagnant. And we really have to take care of that. We really have to. I don't know how. It's kind of like the police officers that and we were talking with State Representative Raymond. They're very good police officers. There's a lot of good badges out there. Mm-hmm. But they're afraid to say that badge over there is the one that's beating up somebody. So we have to protect them. And I'm going to get together with the state representative, see how we can come up with some kind of bill for them to be protected. Kind of like a whistleblower kind of thing. But for a little bit differently, because they're, and...
well, I think a lot of it has to do with, I think if you believe in God, you're not going to be lying. You're not going to go out there, I'm going to destroy this person. I've never done that. When I came into office, I did not fire anybody.
No, yeah.
I mean, as long as you proved that you could work and you did your job, that was all I wanted. A day's work for a day's pay. That was always my philosophy.
Here's something that I will touch base on. We have heard in the last couple of days of people running for a county judge. So when you have a lot of people placing their name, that means that society's not happy, or the community's not happy with something or other. Okay, and Tano's an excellent guy. I know Tano very well. And if he wishes to come in, he can come in here and voice his opinion. But we've, of course, no, you coming. We've heard that Siwa Benavides might run.
Right.
And I just heard that Jaime Canales, the commissioner, might run against him.
He might run. He called me a couple of weeks ago, and he told me he was thinking about it. I said, well, he knows certain things that I wouldn't have privy to, so he may run.
He might run. And when is the election?
March the 6th, Tuesday, March the 6th. It's almost around.
It's
really just going to be January and February.
February, and then it's done because...
And then the middle of February, we start with the early voting, so it's going to be quick.
It's going to be a quick election.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do differently now that you think that you've done in the past? You say, you know what, this is what I'm going to try.
Well,
what are you looking at?
I've proven I think that we're efficient, our efficiency, we've proven that. The way we transformed that office, and it didn't take us a year or 2 years. It was right away. We came in and we said, this is what we're going to do, and staff followed. And those who didn't, they left on their own. And then we've hired people, and they've kept the job for 24 years and 11 months. We pretty much kept that level of efficiency and the customer service. And when I ran, I said that every taxpayer should be treated like a king or a queen.
Right.
You pay. I mean, if Jesus Christ walks in, you're going to pay attention. You're going to what can I get for you? And that's how we had to do it at the office. And I believe we did that. And that level of service is what I would like to bring to the whole Webb County government. A level of customer service, taking care of the taxpayer, and that's our customer. It's really the taxpayer. And I would like to, I did a lot of modernization, the technology and all that. I was always on top of all that. But because I was efficient with the money, I was very frugal. When I came in, they bought every month or every week, they'd buy supplies, because you're buying it at top rate. I came from a grocery store business, so that was my experience, and we bought wholesale.
Of course.
So the more you buy, the cheaper you buy it for, and you have a greater profit. Well, in county government, there is no profit, but that means I have more dollars now to buy other things that I wouldn't have even thought of being able to. So I was able to upgrade the computer systems, the printers. We did a lot, and I'm very proud of what we did, but we did it frugal. We watched our pennies, and forget about the dollars. We weren't going to throw them away. We were watching pennies. We were watching dollars. And that's what I'd like to bring to county government, that efficiency. And I think we need to start thinking outside the box and start looking for a second source of revenue. That's very important. The only revenue the county has is property taxes. The city of Laredo has a fabulous revenue source, and that's the bridges. At one time, Mercurio Martinez, when he was county judge, he wanted to build one
bridge.
Yes, on Highway 83, either between El Cenizo or Rio Bravo, in that area. And obviously at the beginning, it's a cost, but the bridge itself would begin to pay itself. And then after so many years, you'd still have that bridge and you'd still have that revenue. And that could help offset property taxes.
Okay.
So that's something that I would like to look at. And also...
how about the land, the Webb County land that's supposed to be used for school taxes for the homes?
Well, we have that there.
Is it being used sufficiently?
Well, it's grazing. It's just grazing and hunting. They have those leases. They don't produce that much money. Obviously, if you were to do something there and it would produce an income, it would have to be divided between the schools and all that.
Sure.
You know, but then the schools also, how do they finance themselves? Through property taxes. So we've got the schools, the city, the county, we have the same source of revenue, and that's a taxpayer. And I think we need to be more cognizant of what it's costing them.
You know, and the taxpayers are already getting tired. They're already looking with their eyebrow up, you know, hey, we don't need this anymore. More taxes are coming. Mm-hmm. I saw a huge upset in an election for the jail, which I think I had never seen that before. Mm-hmm. Because before, Webb County would vote for the best pachanga, the best dance, the best bumper sticker, and who your cousin worked for, in the county. And now it was kind of like, well, you know what? We don't need a jail. We don't want our taxes. Yes, we do need a jail, but we don't need it like that. So I started hearing a lot of different people talking, and it's not the same voter that it was before that we saw.
No, I think they're more educated, you know. But I agree. You have to understand that not everybody has access to revenues, money, so it can just write a check, go pay it, you know. People struggle. People have needs. And the older they get, the harder those dollars come in. I mean, when we would send our tax statements, the next day, the first people who walked into our office to pay their taxes were the elderly.
Of course.
And you'd see that widow, they're paying, and we'd tell them, you have an option. You can pay it in half, or you can pay in 4 payments, and no penalties and interest. And they say, no, quiero pagarlo ahorita, mijita, porque no se me vaya a olvidar. Mm-hmm. You know?
And I've seen that. I've seen people that the elderly are paying taxes and are more wise about that than the younger crowd. Okay, I had a friend was talking about how they're losing their houses of their grandmother because nobody paid taxes. Mm-hmm. Well, who inherited that? She goes, well, we did. Then you're supposed to be paying the taxes. Yeah. Of course they're going to come and take them away. Oh, we haven't paid them. Should we pay them? Well, it's your responsibility.
That's right.
I mean,
and that happens, and once the elderly pass away, that the protection of that homestead is gone.
Yeah.
And those children or grandchildren, whoever's using that house, they eventually do lose it.
Yeah.
And they lose that protection because even if the grandmother had been behind on her taxes, if they had started paying them while she was still alive, they were paying it at a lesser interest. Exactly. There's so many advantages, you know, that the state, by law, gives these elderly people. But sometimes the children, I remember people would come and you know, I can only pay this, you know. I said, well, do you have children? Yes, but they don't live here. Well, call them and tell them if they can help you. No. And they don't want to be a bother. You know, that's the thing about the elderly. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things we'd like to do, a lot of services we'd like to give, but it takes money.
What would be one of those services?
Well, one, I would like to reduce the community centers, okay?
Okay.
I would also like to do the garbage collection a different way. Rather than going and picking up cans, you have a site, go dump your trash there, and we'll take it to the city dump. Okay?
This is...
out in the rural area.
The rural area.
By law, we do not have to pick up garbage. Where if you're a municipality, Rio Bravo, El Cenizo, they have to. Okay? But every other areas, you do not.
If you live in a ranch...
And the mentality is, well, we already have the trucks, we already have the manpower, might as well just go do it. But no. I mean, the fuel, that manpower can be used for something else, There's other things that also are not being tended to. The roads on the county roads, they're not that great. I mean, especially with the heavy equipment that comes from the oil rigs, they're destroying. And that's another thing we'd like to look at. And Sinal, La Salle County, they charge the companies for what they do on the roads.
How would they charge the company?
They start suing them. And after that, rather than suing and then having to pay court costs and everything, the companies themselves start saying, hey, we're going to have a rig and we're going to move this and we're going to have all this heavy equipment. How much do you want us to pay you? And they pay $200,000, $300,000 a pop. And that helps that county, even though they've got tremendous revenue because of the oil and gas, that helps that county to maintain those roads. And some of them will say, I'll send you my equipment to do the roads. Okay? So that's something we need to look at in Webb County, because especially on the west side and northwest, I mean, they're doing a lot of damage to roads.
Now, if we talk about traffic damage, if it's oil rigs and stuff like that, is it also going to go affect the import-export companies too, with all the semis going out and using those roads?
Well, but they're not going into the county roads that are just
dirt.
Yeah, it's not paved. Now, on that one, most of the damage is here within the city of Laredo.
Correct.
I don't know if the city could do anything on that, but we could, because La Salle has already set the record. They've gone to court and they've set precedents. Yeah, so we could do that, and that means those tax dollars that we're getting right now with our taxes, we can use it for something else. Okay, so those are some of the areas we need to look at, and maybe with the community centers, maybe find some kind of co-op, something to create a co-op or something where they would be in charge of that. We have a community center in Mirando, the Oilton area, that maybe we could do that. I mean, they don't have anything. They do have parties there. They have dances or weddings and things like that. So it does create some revenue. But maybe we could do a co-op where they're in charge, and we let them and they run it, and we don't have to put personnel there. I mean, we have to think outside the box. Doesn't mean that what I'm saying here, that's going to be it. No. When I become county judge, no. We're going to have to look at, sit down, talk to people. That's one of the things that this court doesn't do. They don't go and talk to people. They talk to you at Commissioner's Court, and then it's a long dialogue, and before you know it, everybody's at odds with everybody. Rather than go, sit, talk, let's come to an arrangement. I can't do everything you want, but let's see where we can get you. And in time, we build up, There's got to be communication, and that's something we don't have. Their communication is take you to court or take me to court. And that's like Trump. Trump said, I win all my cases. Why does he win all his cases? Because he outlasts them. He has so much money, and he has an army of attorneys. They just go to court until the other side says, what? I give up. I don't have it. I don't have the money. And that's the attitude of this. That's the attitude of rich people, that they can take you to court. I mean, we had a commissioner tell a district judge about a month and a half ago, we'll agree to disagree and just do a mandamus. Just go to court. That was his solution. Let's go to court and settle it in court. Okay? And the case of Mark Montemayor, the county attorney, he went to court. The judge that always hears the cases in Laredo, the visiting judge, is Judge Peoples. Mm-hmm. The governor said, no, you're not going. I'm sending somebody else. He sent a judge from Victoria County. Well, if you know anything about Victoria, you know that they're Republicans and they're conservative. Okay? So when I heard who the judge was going to be, I said, yeah, he lost.
Who lost?
Mark, the county attorney, lost his case. But the judge said, I'm gonna go with the commissioner's court. I'm gonna grant them that they're correct. But I have a question. should taxpayers be paying duplicate services? Because now you created the counsel to the Commissioner's Court, the civil counsel to the Commissioner's Court, that department.
And explain that. Civil counsel for Commissioner's Court.
They're now the attorneys for Commissioner's Court.
Okay.
Anything that they have to litigate or anything like that or create contracts, they're going to do it. Okay? The county attorney is going to do whatever it's left over. Obviously, the children, the minors, and all that he takes care
I
of.
thought the county attorney was the one that was supposed to be representing the county.
Well, he lost it. He lost it with that judge. But the judge said, you need to take this to a higher court, which he should have made the decision, which then would have been in favor of Michael the county attorney. And it was, the issue was, should taxpayers be paying for two offices that are duplicating their services? And we have another one like that. We have the business office that duplicates the service of the county auditor. Okay? So you have duplication. So the answer is no. That's why you have an auditor.
That's why you have a county attorney.
And that's why you have a county attorney, you know. And the county attorney is elected. The auditor is by the judges. It's the board of judges that hire and fire. Okay? And they have that, and they're the ones who do the budget for the auditor. So there are checks and balances in the Constitution and the statutes. And yet this court is
bypassing it?
Yeah, they're saying, no, I have a better idea. Let's just create another office. So now you're hiring more people, you know. So this is how they settled issues. It's wrong. It's really illegal. But Mark didn't have the finances to go to the Court of Appeals. It takes money. And that's the greatest lesson that we've learned about millionaires. Just go to court. Just go to court. Because Mark couldn't use taxpayers' money. Commissioner's Court were using taxpayers' money. Now, who did they hire? That's an issue people need to find out.
Who did they hire?
Allison and Bass. It's a firm out of Austin. They're doing everything. The death that just occurred in the jail.
Another one?
There was one, I think he passed away about 2 or 3 weeks ago, where there's already litigation going on. They've already hired Allison and Bass. Well, what happened to the counsel? You know, the legal counsel that they just hired, that just created. You know, so they're just spending money. It's not their money. You know, it's the people's money, and they're wasting the people's money. That's what I say. I firmly believe it, and people need to look at that. They need to start questioning, you know. And to say that taxes were never raised, that's not true. The tax rate didn't go up, but they got more money from that tax rate because they should have lowered the tax rate, and they didn't. So taxes went up. And they will continue to go up as long as we duplicate services and as long as we farm out every legal case to outside attorneys rather than keeping our attorneys. They always used to do it. Molly Higgins, who worked for the county attorney, she represented the county in every federal lawsuit. And some of those cases of deaths in the jail, they can go on for 3, 4, 5 years.
Sure.
So you're going to be paying this outside firm 3, 4, 5 years. And who's paying for it? Is it the Tijerina? Is it Galo? No. It's you and I with our property taxes. That's who's paying for it. And here we're putting a greater heavy load, you know, on the taxpayer, a burden, un yugo. You know, you see that oxen who's carrying and pulling. That's what we're doing to the taxpayer. We're forcing him to pay more and more because we got more government. Not necessarily better, bigger government. It's just more duplication of government and costing the taxpayers.
Yeah. So that, number one, that's sad that's going on, and it's an eye opener because I'm hearing it firsthand. And
that's why I'm running, because people do not realize. You know, people are very busy with their lives.
Of course.
And we need to have a watchdog That's what county commissioners should be doing, watching out for the taxpayer, watching out for the citizens, making sure we have the best, but also not at a wasteful amount of dollars. And that's what's happening. We need to be able to guard and protect what we have.
Well, we're running out of time,
Okay.
and I'm going to ask you one more thing. What would you like to tell your people out there?
I'm running for county judge. I had 3 years left in my term as tax assessor collector because I believe so strongly that we need better government and we need a change. And not just for the sake of a change. We need to better our government. I'm putting on the table 3 years of salary to run for this office. I believe that with your help, I can win, and we can do a better job at governance for Webb County, and we can be more responsible for your hard-earned dollars. And that's what needs to take place. And cease the duplication of services, cease the wasteful spending that's taking place right now. We need to put that to an end and be responsible. And that's what I'm asking for your vote, so we can bring responsible government to the people.
I want to thank you for standing up, and any and all those, for people not to say that we're biased. If you all want to pass by, sit down and talk, the doors are open. I want to thank you, number one, because you've done an excellent job in the county.
Thank you.
And they're losing a powerhouse that was there.
Well,
and hopefully those that are going to replace you
yes.
after the election will do the same and continue that going
I
forward.
think taxpayers will request that, and I just want to transform county government the way we transformed the tax office.
And we live in borrowed time, as always.
Yeah.
But there's something that we all need to understand is we all live in Webb County. We all work, and some of us grew up here, and some of us moved here. And we all have to take care of not only ourselves, we have to take care of one another. And sometimes when we vote somebody in, we have to look at our own opinion. And we have a lot of people that will force a vote onto you. And if that occurs, just tell them, you know what, my mind is already made, and go forward and vote. Remember, you're the only one that can check that little box at the end of the day. And for that, we'll see you until next time here at Gloves Off. You all have a peaceful weekend and stay warm.
Amen.
And those hunters out there, be safe.